All right. Make sure it's live. It says it's live. Yay, I see me. There's like a delay before I get to see myself. That is how this system kind of works. So, hello from all over the place. Awesome. Good to see all of you here. I actually started on time. And other than, I didn't want to spend too much time thinking about it because this is probably the least relevant thing I do is eat hot sauce in terms of what my audience probably cares about. But it's still the thing I do. So I will start with a little bit of hot sauce. And today we have toast. And this is too much that I just put on there, but that's all right. This is good. I don't have the overhead camera on. But this is Fat Cat, Chairman Meow. I just like the name. The name made me happy. It says Chairman Meow's Revenge. And seemed like a pretty cool, good hot sauce. It's definitely pretty spicy here, so we'll go ahead and... Is that my dinner? No, this is a piece of bread. I don't know that I consider it dinner. I don't always eat dinner. I eat in the middle of the day. I don't like eating at the end of the day. I'm a middle of the day eater. So I eat in the morning, and then I eat in the middle of the day, but I rarely eat dinner. Wow. I should have looked. I think these are habaneros. There's a lot of ingredients. Onions, roasted red pepper. I don't know, a lot of good stuff. Anyways, this stuff's great. That's actually got a lot of flavor. And it has a cat. Hot sauce with cats on it. Thumbs up. All right. Now, where do we start? Yeah, I eat breakfast and second breakfast. I don't have dinner. Yeah, we have a few things from the Heatonist. Definitely have some of those. Take donations to do that hot sauce without bread and water. Oh, I'll just pour hot sauce in my mouth. I got no problem doing that. There's a lot of... there's a little bit more spice than I expected. And my tongue's a little raw because I ate something hotter earlier. So, I was eating some really hot stuff earlier. Oh, am I competing with the FreeNAS stream? I wasn't supposed to. I'm sorry. Oh, well. Hello from the land of maple syrup and salmon. Oh. Bacon. All right, we got all kinds of... Okay, all right, let's get on. What I'm fascinated by is this. Make sure this is working. It's actually working. It actually tells me how many likes and people are on there. The last 2 or maybe 3 live streams, it has chose not to tell me how many people are attending or how many likes there are or anything like that. So now it is. So anyways, back to the a few topics here. Oh, really brief mention, and this is ongoing. I'm not trying to beat the dead horse here or hiccup the dead horse. Wow. Let's go over here. Go over here. And this is still going and going and going. And I tweeted it out again today because there's 2 videos on this topic. And this is me comparing the DNS filtering. So yeah, that is still an ongoing thing. I posted in it today more information to discuss on it. So that's definitely an ongoing an ever updating thing. And behind the scenes, what's going on next, I have a meeting with DNS Filter tomorrow. I've talked to Cisco twice now, I've emailed back and forth, so there's actually just ongoing communications with Cisco. That's been a lot of fun. And one of the things I just wanted to highlight, and I did the follow-up video about this, is it's just the challenges of being a person on the security side. But then, hey, why not be the person in the middle here going, let's test these and put these systems to the test because, well, it's hard for people to do this. So it's some research stuff, and I really enjoy some of the research aspects of things. It takes a lot of time, but I have a lot of passion for it. So it's kind of fun. The comments have been interesting on it. the YouTube comments are interesting in general, so we'll just say that. I don't know where people were going with it, but either way, I'm really excited about the participation we're getting, and it's hard to pull security communities together right now because a lot of times they meet in some of the conferences that are all canceled as of right now still. So it's all about just putting some heads together. Everyone, it's not about picking and choosing a product in my eye. It's more about making all the products better and better understanding each other. And I know a lot of security people do know each other, but it's been kind of fun diving into that topic as all. So, yeah, I did the Cisco Umbrella. That's what my corrections were in my video. So, a couple things about Cisco Umbrella. Cisco Umbrella is definitely scored better than OpenDNS, but in the end, Quad 9 was still the winner. So that's still a constant factor we're dealing with, is the fact that Quad 9, they keep winning. Matter of fact, one of the tests I did today was I grabbed, and it's only in my forum post, there's an active threat that I was able to find. I let people know the time and date that I ran the test because it was a 14-hour-old indicator of compromise listed on AlienVault, so I got very specific with it. And Quad 9 sinkholed it, DNS filter sinkholed it, and Cisco Umbrella did not. And I'm not here to pick specifically on Cisco Umbrella, but it's a consistent thing we're seeing that, yes, it did score higher than OpenDNS, but it does not seem to score as high right now as DNS Filter or as Quad 9. And of course, Quad 9 being a free service. And I've done the explainer in each of the videos that the scope of this was malware testing, not the extra filtering that those services can offer that are above and beyond the simple DNS filtering. So, William Daughtery, $24.99 donation. Thank you very much. It is greatly appreciated. That is at least one of the business changes you're going to see coming. There's going to be some join buttons on my channel. Here's my challenge I have. I really like to keep the channel as open and accessible to people, not just people who have money. But it takes money to take time to spend time doing all of these videos and the research. I do monetize through these platforms in order to compensate myself for the time it takes to do this because I still have bills to pay. It's either spend a lot of time reading a lot of ads or take donations from people, which the reality is because the ads pay, it's kind of fun. I mean, I'm trying to keep it minimal in terms of ads, but I can really start reading ads for whatever the mattress company of the day is. It seems like that's a really popular one as everyone reaches out to you for mattress companies. I have turned down all the VPN companies. I have an affiliate link, not a sponsored link, but an affiliate link for PIA. I still think they're a decent VPN company. But man, the NordVPN people and several other of them are like regular emailers to me of wanting to throw money at me to do an ad insert on there. And I'm trying to avoid sounding like a lot of the other people on there. So I am working on adding that join button. I don't know what extra you'll really get for it because a lot of people say, well, can you give me more content? And I'm trying to produce content as fast as possible. I don't know how I would necessarily find the time, but maybe people would like something more that I'm not doing that I could do more of. That's less about accessibility to tutorials, as I don't want to restrict those. It's more about what more could I give people who wanted to join the YouTube channel. Now, one of the things you can do when you join the YouTube channel once this is set up is you'd get special emojis and be recognized with special little updates. So there's really some cool things I'm hoping I will be able to add to the channel for that. But like I said, I don't want to create some you have to pay to watch my videos type of thing because the goal is I know a lot of people are outside the US where just because of the exchange rate, it's not easy for them to throw money at me to watch tutorials. And I've gotten and heard from people in especially much poorer nations that my videos were very helpful in them implementing an open source solution and providing technology to their area. And that makes me extremely happy more than any amount of money. And of course, if $10 means something to them more so than it is here. It's just it's a value in exchanges and etc. So my goal is never to restrict my tutorials to only people who can afford to watch these type things. I think one of the good things about YouTube is the platform that's allowed people to be creative, make a living, and while at the same time make a lot of tutorials and bring forth education to those that may not be able to easily afford it. Hey, that's my opinion on that. The Black Box. Thanks for making your videos, helped and teach me a lot. Here's something to keep it going. Thank you very much for the donation from The Black Box. We got William Daughtery in a Black Box. Like I said, it's much appreciated. And, you know, some of my mindset, a book I read a long time ago that was just a really great book. And it's, I'll actually pull it up here. So, X.S. Ohanian. Pull up this book. This is a good... If you're into business, I think this is a book. Alexis Ohanian, founder of Reddit. And this was really cool book. Now, one of the things interesting about it, there's a story from Alexis on there of people when he was on his book tour coming up and saying, I'm a broke college kid. I just want to tell you I feel bad for pirating. And he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, so I'm happier that you read it and that you, that you had access to it rather than worried about that I didn't make some small amount of money off of an individual book sale. And by the way, if you don't know who Alexis Ohanian is, he's a pretty awesome human being in general, co-founder of Reddit, and just generally speaking, an interesting person who's done a lot of really cool things. And the book's a good read. So it's one of the books, if you're thinking about starting business, especially any type of online scalable business, it's one of the books I'd toss out there into your reading list that I'd say, yeah, it has some good value to it. And Alexis is a really interesting person as well. Let's see. I don't have a USB LTE, so don't expect anytime soon for me to do a video on it. Speaking of open source, any open source documentation management, wiki. Look up our system. You'll find that we still are using a wiki. I haven't found anything better. I know a lot of people, and this was just debated again in my forums, they like different wiki software because it's easier to set up. And I will admit that is a challenge that we're slightly working on solving because it's the live editor for MediaWiki that's a little bit tricky to set up. And I know how to set it up, but I'm not telling you it's one click easy. And so I'm looking at, and me and my friend were talking about writing an automation tool that will build that, like basically an install script to make that a little bit easier to build. So maybe that'll come along. But one of the reasons we use MediaWiki is it has the ability to be locked down and have two-factor installed. Due to the fact that it contains lots of documentation for clients, we keep it extremely locked down, separated from a firewall with a short ACL list and, of course, two-factor on it, so you can't just wander up to it with a username and password. It still requires a two-factor authentication. That is a feature missing from a lot of other wikis, is that second-factor authentication, but that can be worked around because some of them support different types of authentication via third party. And if you pass off the authentication to a third party and that third party service offers two-factor, that's a way to work around it as well. So not just MediaWiki, but other places in general. So yes, Alexis Ohanian does happen to be the husband of Serena. And follow his Twitter. He's got a lot of fun tweets as being a dad. And stuff. He's just a neat person in general. So pretty, like you said, he's someone I found his book really good, and he's just generally an interesting person to follow. So I'm fuzzy on the boost in rates for getting YouTube Premium. Now, I do have, and we can even pull this up because I've always been willing to share statistics on here. YouTube does pull. Let me get to the page for you and get it pulled out and separated. Where do they break this down? There we go. So you can see it. So this is last 28 days of revenue that comes into my channel. Like I said, I'm very open about the fact that, yes, I make money from this. But the YouTube Premium revenue represents 11% of the revenue, and this is the estimated ad revenue. So one of the things they're not telling me, though, is they don't, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see any way that it tells me exactly like what the rate I'm getting is per view. Like, they don't give you a rate per view based on per revenue on there, not that I'm aware of. If someone knows exactly where that is, it'd be interesting. But to my knowledge, there's not a breakdown of that piece of information. I also find it weird when people complain about the revenue, like, or the ads on here, and I'm like, there's ads. I mean, that's YouTube adds them. Even if I don't, YouTube still puts ads on there. I try to avoid because there's an option where I can force nothing but unskippable ads. I don't do that. I use just the default settings for monetization, and because I just leave the default settings on here, they insert whatever ads they insert. So. Oh, document management. I'm not clear on what you mean for document management. So, awesome. Though Xavier, me and him are going to be doing How They Got Hacked a little bit earlier tomorrow. That's our current plan. 2020 could destroy the world between now and then. I'm not ruling that out. But provided 2020 somehow itself does not cause the world to implode for whatever next event, or a giant meteor doesn't destroy Earth, our plan is to do How They Got Hacked a bit earlier. So that's going to be fun. Let's see here. Pfsense is the original. I don't have a use case for OpenSense. So I've actually heard from a few people that, and I don't use OpenSense enough. Like, I've looked at it. We even fixed it for some people. We had some stupid problems with it, but they were also kind of weird, obscure network setups, so it's not as easy. I've had a few people tell me they have a really hard time with Suricata in it, and it's way better inside of Pfsense. I don't know. I know that other people are like, well, there's a couple extra plugins that they like in OpenSense. Cool, go use them. They're not plugins that I have some burning need for. My biggest challenge really comes from the fact that there's a much more frequent update matrix to it. That is a challenge if you... people think you need a lot of updates. Yeah, wait till you manage a whole lot of firewalls for clients and you have to then push those updates to firewalls. That can be a little bit more challenging. So, yeah. What else we have here? But that debate, Willie did a video comparing the two, so it's not hard to find. Hey, getting excited to deploy a 3100, that's not a bad thing. Do you get more revenue? I'm not as clear if you watching the ads gets me that much more revenue. Don't do it on my behalf. So some of those ads are torturous, I'm sure, and probably just outright terrible. So don't do it for me. I don't think there's enough extra money in it that it's worth your pain to watch those ads. I just not really sure. So I can't really speak to that part of it. But back onto the topic of business changes. Yeah, I use YouTube Premium, so I don't watch the ads. Matter of fact, because YouTube Premium is part of the YouTube Music and things like that, I really like it. So, but the YouTube, well, it's getting confusing, I know, but I use the YouTube Music service, and the YouTube Music service now is going to be part of the YouTube Premium. It's all the same thing, but it's another feature you get, so you can have all the music subscriptions and the YouTube without ads, and once you've experienced YouTube without ads, it's weird when I see someone who has YouTube with ads, so I don't watch them that often. I do know one a couple times, like for example, I've talked a little bit about this, but when I'm home and I'm using like my home computer, I don't even log into my Gmail account at all, because people criticize me for using Gmail. I'm like, yeah, that is completely what I use for my business life, and there's a complete separation when you get to not business Tom, and I'm not even logged into my Google account, and I do not log into my Google account on my gaming PC ever. So only time I have to watch ads is when I'm trying to figure out some walkthrough in a game. I have to see the ads, and the ads are quite repetitive. There's not enough of them, so you end up with exhaustion pretty quickly. The hazy liquid I'm drinking is my favorite drink all day long, every day. I start coffee in the morning, but throughout the day, it's water with lemon juice. I go through a bottle of lemon concentrate every week, sometimes more. I like lemon water. I know, by the way, the lack of ice is because I drink my water room temperature, for those of you that are wondering, because my wife thinks that's weird. Guilt-free adless watching. Linus Tech Tips says they're the most money. Well, I hope that's true. I don't have a statistics for that, but Linus knows better. Linus, once you get to the scale of 10 million subscribers, YouTube's like, hey, Linus, how's life? Just checking in on you. You know what I mean? He's got a connection with YouTube that I don't have. So they probably tell him more. Now, I have not leveraged this because YouTube essentially is kind of like, I don't know, more minimalized right now because of the work from home, et cetera, et cetera. I was told YouTube will reach out to you and you kind of get to talk to someone from YouTube once you break the 100,000 subscribers. I got a plaque, but I haven't that I've seen any direct engagement. I also have not pursued any direct engagement to learn the secrets of YouTube or however that works. So. Yes. There's a whole app. There's even offline listening for the YouTube thing, for the YouTube Music. Currently, I'm still using Google Play Music because it's allegedly going to transfer. But yeah, it lets me download all my stuff when I'm on Wi-Fi, and then I have my playlists when I'm not on Wi-Fi. And of course, it can play over Wi-Fi and build other playlists and do stations, downloaded music, etc. There's a lot of features to it. Check it out. It's actually a pretty good service. The fact that I get both my ad-free and my music is like easy. The drink answer was surprising entertaining. All right. Yeah, Linus is in a very different category as me too, but well, just in general, the fact that you're at 10 million subscribers puts you at a very different place in life than Tom is at right now. How do you connect the J-hooks? With beam clamps. It's beam clamps and J-hooks. Maybe we'll make a video on that sometime. I would probably say, I kind of get what you're saying. You feel like you can connect with me more than some of the other creators. I like to be very real. I know a lot of creators that are like that. I'm gonna, unrelated to tech, there's quite a few people who are more keeping it real, however you want to say it, being genuine. I'm gonna say that I don't really follow much of Austin Evans stuff. He seems like one of those people who's a little bit hyped up. Linus, I feel like Linus probably just wants to say more profanity. I feel as though that Linus is being Linus. People I know that have interacted with him, he's a nice guy. I feel like he's on the edge of cussing more, but doesn't because of his channel, which, makes sense. You don't want to be demonetized all the time. KBHD, I think he keeps his personal life offline, which is fine, and something very valid to do because he's such a public figure and he started at such a young age. But I feel as though his tech reviews, he really enjoys technology, and I think it comes through. He's relatively articulate, but of course he's at such a different level, and he's got a very different personality. And that's one of the other things too. You identify people maybe that you have more of a personality with. They also they're just very different categories of tech from me. So you may be more related because I'm a technician doing technician things more so than checking out the latest phone. It's not that I don't like the latest phone, it's just not my passion as much as it is KBHD. Matter of fact, I watch KBHD when I want to learn about phones because the guy's really good at it. So, down to earth. Throw enough money at me, man, I'll go right into orbit. So, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Maybe down to earth. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I grew up different than them or not. I don't know their past, and maybe that's why I am. I don't know. So, have you managed to do some testing on XCP&G private networks? I tested. They worked. They are scripted, and I am not. I don't know. I don't know that KBHD reads from a teleprompter. I don't know if he does. I think Linus does script. He's very, he writes scripts for all of his work, and a lot of other people do. I don't know. I don't know what's right or wrong on that. Vegas and Mexico. Woo! Tacos rule. I love tacos. We're going to go with that. Yep. All 4 tacos. Before we got sidetracked 20 times in about water, drinks, phones, YouTube, ad revenue, back to posting a few other things on here. Let's see. I think you can pass your disk by ID, but I don't know. I've never tried. I only did that as a demo video. I've done it to play with things. It's never used in production, so I spend very little time on it. So, other business changes. Brett, remember that guy? He might even be in here sometime. Sometimes he watches this. Brett is a friend of mine, and Brett is going to be moving on to another adventure. So because he's moving on to another adventure, we are going to try to figure out what to do with the hole that Brett fills. That is not necessarily that we're hiring. Brett was doing a lot of consulting and structure changes to the company, and so I'm trying to figure out what to do next with that. It's not exactly, I don't know exactly what I want to do. That's what I have to figure out. How do we fill that gap? Do I hire someone locally again to do more salesy stuff? I don't want to do the salesy stuff. I like making videos, and for the short term, I'll have to pick up any of the slack that from Brett doing certain sales aspects, and of course I'll distribute this amongst my team and kind of play it by ear on there, but that's just one of the business changes we're making. So it's a lot of stuff to think about, and I'm just thinking out loud here. There's not exactly a plan put in place for this. I still have a lot of friends to talk to and things like that. I had a conversation with another IT person this morning that I have respect for. They're not interested because I was, the potential for acquiring a business is not out of the question, but that person was not interested in being acquired, which is a fair and honest answer. So it's one of those things that I like to think out loud and kind of talk about it. And if some of you may follow me inside of different forums on Facebook, and I posted that same thought that I'm just kind of throwing it out there, that I'm putting the thoughts together on it. So I don't have any answer. No, there's not going to be any type of job posting. So that comes up about where do you find people. Kind of something I've been following is, and you can follow too, is Jordan Harbinger has a show called The Jordan Harbinger Show. And I've been following him for a long time. It's always been a really interesting podcast. But more specifically, one of the things he talks about is real jobs and real connections are where it's at. And there's a book, the person who came up with that shoe company, the book's called Delivering Happiness. And he talks about this too. What is his name? Tony. So let's find this real quick. I read a lot of books in case you didn't know. That's this right here. But he created, is it Zappos? And he has a whole talk about this. And let me find Jordan Harbinger. And by the way, you can sign up for his free course, and he talks a lot about this. And my whole point of bringing all of this up and why this is relevant is some of the best jobs. And matter of fact, let's go a step further here. And put in right here. So you can watch this video on my channel as well. This is Getting Started in Cybersecurity with Hacker Chris Roberts from Ativio Network. Chris Roberts, awesome person as well. And he was interviewed by another awesome person, this guy right here, Xavier. So you obviously know these two people. And this was filmed. One of the things they talk about is when you get started is essentially bypassing the normal resumes, bypassing getting in. And this is something across the board. What I mentioned with Jordan Harbinger, what I mentioned here with Getting Started in Hacking, and how I got any of my starts, and how all the people that work for me, how I know all of them. 0 of them were from some random job posting that was posted in some random forum. They were maybe me asking that I was looking for someone to hire, maybe reaching out through connections that I had and connections of connections type thing. That is generally where, just in life, you're going to find a better quality of jobs, is from the people you know and things like that. It's a very different aspect. So that's one of the reasons I talk out loud about this, because it presents opportunities. It's not like I'm just looking for a bunch of resumes to go through. I have no interest in that. It's usually reaching out amongst people that I already have some level of connection with. And that's one of those things. And Jordan Harbinger, by the way, in his 6-minute networking thing, and I have no affiliate link, there's nothing at all. As a matter of fact, it's free. And I like how Jordan puts it. His 6-minute networking course is free. Not free as in I want your credit card free, but just free. And all he really does is share out some of his methodologies for how to connect with people and how to build a network of people. That's not easy for me. There's a reason I subscribe to that 6-minute networking course, is I'm still not good necessarily at connecting with people, or not as good as I could be, is what I'm thinking. So a lot, Tony Hitch, I've seen Zappos, Tony Hitch, a few people are readers in here that probably beat me to it. I'm catching up with the ads. But there's an important of building that network. And once you build out that network of people, as you keep expanding it, you'll find a lot more opportunity from it. And it's something I've been working on for years. I've always done it at some level, and it's how I've got to where I am today, but I'm not doing it, I think, as well as I could. And that goes really for anyone. The more you build your network, the more opportunities will come into your life. And that's how I became friends with Xavier. And it starts with you. I became friends with Xavier a few years ago at an event because I was friends with another person who was doing some cool things in Detroit. I met Xavier there once, then became friends with Xavier. That pivots to Xavier turns out to be just an awesome hacker. That's near and dear to my heart. So cool. We do how they got hacked and everything else. Someone reaches out to Xavier when he's a security person because of his connections. He gets to meet the famous, if you look him up, he's quite famous, that interview with Chris Roberts. And then they go, hey, we need a platform to drop this on. And I happen to already have a YouTube channel. So that's how that ended up on my YouTube channel. And you just build these connections for things. So it's a big cycle, but that's how you do things. Let's see here. I'm catching up a little bit. I don't use ButterFS on Linux. I use ZFS. How's the donation thing working? Is it like taking cash? It's a join thing on there. I will, when I understand it better, I will present it. You can look, it's a join button that a lot of people have on our YouTube channel. I just don't have it set up at all. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, make sure you put some Burp Suite on your resume. Yeah. I don't use any document management system, so I do not have one, William. There are a handful of open document management systems out there. Do I value certifications? Mediocre. Depends what they are. They're not a mandatory thing. We're still on SolarWinds, never used Continuum. I've never used it, so I have no opinion on it one way or another. I know all the RMMs suck at some point, so. Certifications can be good. They're getting better. They were bad, and they're getting better. So qualifications based on certifications. Here's the challenge. You'd sometimes need to, and one of my friends was a hiring manager just for Radio Shack. And this was in the, when the economy was really bad, like circa 2009 or 2010, when the economy hadn't quite picked back up again, they said they needed someone with some technical skills for Radio Shack. And in a single week at a single location, she said 900 resumes came in. 900. They were trying to figure out how to qualify them. And sometimes that's what people will do. The bulk come in too fast and they'll start going, at least give me someone with these certifications or this level of college degree, just to filter out the bulk of them. And once you, and I don't know if this story's true, I'm gonna laugh, and I know it's wrong. We'll go there though. Someone said they don't hire unlucky people. Someone was talking to a hiring manager. I'm positive this was a joke. I hope this isn't true. But they were trying to figure out how they deal with piles of resumes that came in, and the hiring manager says, I just don't like unlucky people. Well, how do you figure out who's lucky or who's not? And they grabbed half the pile and threw it in the garbage. All those people were unlucky, and it just went in the garbage. Now I have half as much to sort through. And honestly, if you're just a resume with just a simple list of skills on there, it's way harder to get through. And go back and watch that Chris Roberts video with Xavier. There's a lot of talk about how to get a job in cybersecurity, and it's an important thing to think about. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It's really hard to distinguish yourself, and that you just have some certifications. The other challenge is you can say all day, and I'll challenge any IT person to this who sits there and thumbs their nose at certifications, and I'm like, no problem. If you had surgery next week, do you want someone who did or did not go to medical school and has the word doctor in their title? And no one ever answers no, but that's because that system has done a better job. Not perfect. I'm not saying that they're flawless, but they have done a better job at certifying people to be doctors. It is also a very different thing to certify a doctor to work on a human being than it is to work on a technology, because human beings evolve much slower than JavaScript, than any programming language, than any network utilities you use, or network systems you build, or computers just in general. The technology pace moves so fast, it's hard to certify someone on something. You have to go at a very broad fundamental rate, which of course makes it less certification versus understanding blood types. There's not been a new blood type discovered recently. So that's kind of my rant on that. So yeah, the best jobs are from knowing someone. Most companies use a robot to filter it. You probably. Oh, let's see. Yeah, there's, like I said, it's a really interesting thing. There's no easy answers for it. Know more people. That will help you in the big arc of life in terms of that, whatever your career is, even outside of technology. Surrounding yourself with really good people matters a lot. Always try to be seeking out, and sometimes that does require weeding out your friends list or just not hanging out with them. If you circle back to Jordan Harbinger, and it's free, you can look up Jordan Harbinger at Google. He did a talk at Google. Watch that talk. It's like an hour. It's 58 minutes, I think. It's not even that long. And you'll get a massive amount of value out of that particular piece of information. It's just a really good, worthwhile thing to get a better understanding. And I think that's, me and a friend offline were talking about this yesterday, who's worked in tech a long time at very large companies. And one of the things he observed was people's failure to progress in their career in the technical side because of poor communication skills, poor social skills, and things like that. One of my friends who worked at a very high-level engineering firm said they started requiring 2-year general degrees unrelated to tech at a minimum, and they started pushing for 4-year degrees. And one of his biggest reasons why, he says, I want to know that they wrote an English paper at some point in time and have some level of communication skills. He goes, I don't care if they have a basic liberal arts degree, I'll still hire them for their technical acumen. But he goes, I want someone who actually can articulate to management what they want done in a properly structured email of the English language. That matters a lot, because if you can't communicate with your coworkers or the people above you, or even properly articulate orders to those below you, you'll never have people below you. So those soft skills are really as important in your tech career as they are being able to solve a network engineering problem, to be able to code and understand your job as a programmer. Having those soft skills will be a very deterministic point in your career of whether or not you go forward or stay at the bottom. So something to think about there too. Yeah, Google is your friend in IT. Be good at Google. That is something you can put to your resume, that I can out-Google anyone. I am able to look things up on Google and answer people's problems better than the next person. That is a valuable skill and still what I do. I may have a lot of knowledge, but I also know how to find the knowledge gaps with Google, and that is a skill in IT that you desperately need. Would not be, yes, would be wrong not to buy you a beer. Thank you, Sam. A pint, as you may call it across the pond there. So, and I'm all for a pint. I do, as much as I like my room temperature water, I do like my beer cold, which is weird. I'm not, water, room temperature is perfectly fine. Actually, I don't even care if the water's cold. I just have no preference for it. But beer, I like the beer cold. I like my whiskey, no ice, room temperature. Room temperature whiskey is actually really happy to me. So, found out how to donate button works. Awesome. Yes, all that stuff. Google's a librarian. Yeah. Yes, I like a pint, but not a warm pint. Not ready for a warm pint. I think having a resume that's different. I don't know because I haven't looked at resumes. I don't know I can't even think of the last time I looked at resume. I haven't. It's been a very long time. Because everyone I hired over the last 17 years, I'm trying to remember, I think one of them had a resume. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last time I even looked at one. It's been 8 or 9 years since I looked at a resume that I hired. And one person, I've had people, my friend, and only became friends with him after he worked for me and now has moved on to work somewhere else. We had another employee that came in from random knock on the door, but he just worked in a retail store, turned out to be really talented at his job, had some great conversations, and he worked for several years and was very talented at what he did, and it was much appreciated until he moved on to where he felt more comfortable as a programmer. That's what his dream was, and I had no programming work for him, so yep. Oh, let's see. Googling Pfsense is what found me. Yes, that's going to happen. One thing about it, too, though, all the stuff I'm saying, you can throw out the door for larger companies. You have a very different experience. All the other things about connections is still very true, but you undoubtedly have to submit some level of resume for larger corporate jobs. They do things a little different. Now, your ability to get in there is more likely going to be leveraged by the fact that you have a lot of connections and know people if you want a better position at these companies. But yeah, there is more resume and more formal processes at larger companies than you find at smaller ones. So that's still going to be a fact of all that. So that's kind of my rant on those business changes. So hopefully someone picked up the career advice and found it helpful. If I'm egregiously wrong about something, also I hope you let me know, because you're never as wrong as when you're wrong on the internet. So that's yeah, 2/3 of all job hires found through the network. Yes. So much interesting stuff there. What else were we going to talk about? I think that's the only business change I make is that Brett's leaving, figuring out what I'm going to do instead, and career choices. And don't send me your resume because it's not what I'm looking for right now. I have lots of thinking to do more than anything else. So, but someone may have some opportunity. There's a lot that needs to be done, and what Brett's been doing is, we do inbound leads from YouTube. I have a whole process on that, following up on those leads, following up again on that same lead, following up again on the lead because people need follow-up. And that's just part of business in general. So that, and I've always thought about, I've had a few people reach out that want to edit. I have no interest in that. That was a weird thing that I get a lot just in general. I think it's because once you're on YouTube, everyone assumes that editing is really what burdens you. And I think I'm going to say out there, when you bringing back up the YouTuber topic of KBHD, he puts a lot more time into editing than I do. I don't think that putting a ton more time into editing would enhance things, at least not at this moment for what I do. Therefore, I don't really need an editor, by the way. Here's my editor. Here's how I switch screens. Here's how I do everything. And most of my stuff is done, and my content production is done mostly one shot. And occasionally you guys have seen my secret where I forgot to edit it. I do this, I pause, and occasionally the words don't come to me, so I pause, and I just edit out the dead spots where I went, and I just freeze for a minute. I left one of those minute freezes, and they're like, I thought it was buffering. I'm like, yeah, I just freeze. And I do that so you can't see the jump cuts where something moves. Sometimes it does because I freeze for too long. So, but I don't need an editor. I don't know what anyone would want more out of me for social. If people say they want to do more for social, I'm like, what would you do? And they go, and I'm like, I don't know what the audience wants to see. Behind the scenes, you want to see the mess on the desk over here, the stuff I haven't got to yet that's laying on the table that, hey, remember when I talked about this last week? It's still on the table because I had a very busy week and didn't have time to do anything about it. So there's some batteries over here. Do we take a picture of them and create an Instagram page? Because I don't have, yeah. So I don't know. I'm open ideas if someone has some idea on how to do that, so. Let's see. $587 scenes. Yeah, I don't have that many scenes, only a couple. Yeah, recording. Sam's starting to make some YouTube videos as well, and he's learning. It's a lot of. It takes a while to find your flow, to get your cadence right, to build them. It's not as easy as. Where's the phase 2 for IPsec? It's in there. I don't know. I haven't done a video on it. I guess it's been on my to-do list to do an IPsec video. When I do it, I'll show where phase 2 is there. It's in there. You can read through the spec. I think there's at least someone who's made a video on it. It just doesn't happen to be me. All right. Make sure it wasn't anything critical. What else do we have? What else do we have here? New things coming to the channel. I think I beat the business one to death. Is there anything more? Is there any other business questions people want to ask? UniFi doorbell. I don't talk about things that are early access. So I don't know. When it comes out, it comes out. So Sam did a video on IPsec to site. So if you look up Sam Sheridan, you can find it because he's not going to be able to post links here. But he said he did a video on it. So he did even a Dre Tech to Pfsense. There you go. I don't have any connections between non-Pfsense one sellers, but we've done it quite a few times. We've got a handful of firewalls we've connected to other firewalls. We've even done some Pfsense to Cisco for a client because I'm pretty sure it's what the back end on the other side. Some of the medical clients require an IPsec VPN to tunnel their site to their main hospital, and we put a Pfsense in and it works. So business changes, I said all those. It's just that Brett's leaving and I got to fill the gap. So you'll have to rewind through the video, Mr. Silva. Let's see. What do we got here? Pci Compliance. What about it? It sucks. It's stupid. I hate it, but you got to do it. How's that? That's my thoughts on Pci Compliance. It's one of those things that makes auditors happy. Doesn't always make security better. The goal is to, but it's more about checking a lot of boxes. Yes, search Sheridan Computers Pfsense. You'll find the video that he's referring to. Oh, I don't mind the shameless plug. if someone has a video that creates value, what is PCI compliance? In the U.S., we'll just Google it. You'll learn more. But it's basically to say that you're properly handling payment details for credit cards and things like that. So. Yeah, it's The stupid thing is they find dumb things that aren't as relevant to security, but they'll overlook things that are relevant to security sometimes. So, yeah, and like Corey Thompson said, when you got to go to some of the other higher compliances, it even gets more. It's even messier. Oh yeah, as an acronym, Payment Card Industry Compliance, PCI. Thank you, DJ Dosso, for that. Has Zero Tier been vetted? I think they had a post on that. It's been a little while since I looked. But I don't know for sure how well vetted it. I think it has gone through a level of audit. I remember I tweeted out something along those lines from the Zero Tier Twitter account. So they have it posted on their blog. So HIPAA's impossible and contradictory. Yep. I don't know. I'm not an expert on every one of those. So is there some conflict between them? Generally, no, because they both just push for harder and harder. I mean, if you dig, so many things are open to interpretation of the auditor occasionally. So there's there can be something that one auditor may disagree with another one for. I don't know. That's not my field of expertise. Yeah, the audits from the FBI, I don't deal with that, but I have another friend who has a company that does, so that's a different topic. But yeah, that's there's a lot more in depth. Matter of fact, I seen a bid come up that someone sent me, and it was funny because they wanted you to go through and have the company vetted through the FBI, but I heard from someone else that the reason they're out for bid is because, I mean, they had some heavy lifting that they wanted done with their infrastructure. They were also willing to only pay contractors, I heard, only $80 an hour. And I'm like, yeah, let me go through all my certifications to only bill at a rate of $80 an hour. Sorry, folks, that's not going to fly here. I make more than that on companies that don't require I have FBI background checks on all of my employees. I'm like, yeah. Because they also wanted people who were certified in Cisco, certified in VMware, but didn't want the contractor, not what they'll pay. There's always an employee. They were looking for companies to contract to come in and do infrastructure work. So yeah, whatever. Your initial reaction about Lenovo announcement. We talked about this on Sunday Morning Linux Review. I talked about it on this. I think I've tweeted it a couple times. I brought it up at least one of my Vlog Thursdays. I thought it was funny that Lenovo, that used to be owned by IBM, and now IBM sells or spins off Lenovo into its own company. It's acquired by Lenovo directly, becomes autonomous from IBM. Then IBM buys Red Hat. Now Red Hat gets certified on Lenovo. Hey, cool. More Linux certified laptops is a great thing. So if it works on Red Hat, generally speaking, it's going to work in Ubuntu or many other Linux distributions because they're going to use the same kernel. So it's not, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's nice that we see more Linux laptops. So awesome on that part there. How's the UDM Pro? It's right there. I may or may not do an updated test on there. Me and Chris from Crosstalk were talking about the onslaught of questions people seem to have about it. Apparently the last couple updates have been buggy. From what I don't know this for myself because we don't really deploy these for businesses almost ever. So yeah, they're more of a home user thing. Now, the one my daughter has works great. It's been updating and it seems to be fine, but all she uses it for is to get online. And in that case, it works. Willie, how's it going, Willie? The quick catch up on business stuff without watching the whole thing again is 1, message me offline. 2, my friend Brett is now leaving Lawrence Systems to go on to his next contract adventure. And so that, filling the gap, and we talked about certifications and getting jobs and all that stuff. But Willie has a way to contact me personally. So me and Willie will sit and BS sometime. So just hit me up offline and we'll have a conversation. Yep. Healthy, safe. You know, the giant meteor has not struck yet in 2020, so we're all still here. I can't. If you want to use the UDM Pros because you just want something basic that just kind of does it all, I don't think it's horrible. It just doesn't have a lot of features. If you go, hey, I just want to get online, get a UDM Pro. Then you go, hey, I want a bunch of VPN features. Don't use UDM Pro. Yes, I already updated the Pfsense. I'm going to be doing some new videos on FreeNAS, but I did update to that, so. Yeah, free PBX is pretty neat. We've been selling a lot of phone systems. That's been kind of fun. I do have some upcoming phone videos, so I guess we'll move on now to the what's new reviews coming. So this is still on the table. This review's coming. I'm working on that. I caught up on a lot of things. I'm an inbox zero kind of person, and I needed to close out projects at present, and I'll give you a count. There are 16, including the new ones that just came in. 17, another one just came in. 17 emails in my inbox. And that's important because when it gets down to that, that's because I followed up with everybody and have everything closed out. So that means I can move on to other things I'm going to review. This is in reach, and there's more than just this. So this has been something I haven't even, I don't even unbox in my videos, but I'll unbox this here if I can find something to poke it with. There we go. Oh, it's already been poked. Aruba. So I will be reviewing some Aruba equipment. That includes not just this, but their switch. So yeah, I'm trying to branch out. Now, I will qualify that I have not used these in production. So my review of this is going to be slightly different than my normal review where I say, hey, we dove deep into this and we've deployed these. But I wanted to have something as a comparison, so to discuss and talk about it. A lot of people have asked about it, and I may take it home and use it for a while, or I may use it here. Using it here is tough because everything here is hardwired. Home is where I actually use wireless, not really at the office. The only thing at the office is my laptop when I'm doing videos is usually wireless, and my phone, and my staff, their phones. Everything else here in the office is always hardlined. So, can you connect Pfsense on MikroTik? You can make the two talk to each other, yes. I've never seen an unplugged UniFi AP lose their config. Oh, cool. Willie got one too. Neat. So Willie's got one. Crosstalk did a video on the Aruba Instant On switch. So mostly we have UniFi deployed in clients. We just don't have Aruba. I mean, back in the day, not the same exact thing, but we've done HP Pro curves. We just had some sites that already had them that we adminned. We just took over sites that were using Aerohive and we moved them to UniFi. So that's done too. Thoughts on TechCrunch's article on Java-based software. Tune in tomorrow for how they got hacked and learn more about that. Whose brand is Aruba? I believe Aruba is owned by HP now. So that's that's another review coming. There's a couple other things I have. There's actually the folks at Tech Supply Direct. I gotta plug this in. They sent it to me and I haven't opened it yet. This is some the bootable Dell options. So the Dell will boot off of this. This is hopefully soon. I will get to this on a video. The worst thing about the hardware videos, not worst thing, I mean I enjoy it, but they take a lot more time to set up than some of the other ones because the other stuff I can just talk about. I just get on here and talk about software because software is easy. The hardware means I got to set up and configure it and prep it for the video, which makes it take a little bit longer. So yeah, layer 3 support for the Gen 2 Pro switches. Let's talk about that. They said that in a firmware. Can someone point me to how that works? Because it doesn't. I have one right there. I do not know where to set any static routes in it. So they said they added static routes. Okay, how do you set them? No one seems to have an answer. So I seen the firmware update. I have the latest firmware. How do you set it? That's what I haven't seen. If someone has a link that they could post in my forums or tweet at me the link to where you can use a Gen 2 Pro with static routes, I'm interested. I have one, and let me pull it up here. To my knowledge, I still don't see how you set the static route. I've had more than one person message me, and I always reply, how? And I think that's why they're messaging me, is they don't know either. Like, they're like, So let's go here to devices. We have I'll get there in a second and share with the class, don't worry. Where is it? I just want to make sure I don't have any client stuff showing. There we go. Shiny new Gen 2. Cool. Latest firmware. All up to date. There's the firmware version on it, unless I'm wrong. That's the latest firmware. And I don't know where you add the static routes at. Now, I have looked, and it doesn't show any ability to add them in here or here. Services? Nope. Network? Nope. Manage? Nope. I'm not seeing it common. Switch port. We can go to the switch ports over here. We got all the profiles set up. Networks, that seems like it. Or maybe routing and firewall. Static routes. Nope, not without a USG. So that doesn't seem to work. Try new settings. Is it in here? Gateway, internet security, internet. It lets you create it, but it's really unclear. I mean, it says it's under gateway, so I don't think this allows you to create a static route. It's not like saying on this switch, do it. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't find anything clear about that, so I agree with you that I've seen it. So hopefully if someone... just plug Pfsense in a microtik, it'll work. Just because you're answering my probably silly questions and keeping me safe during lockdown. Keeping you sane. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I'm keeping you safe with Pfsense. But thank you very much, James Stewart, for the donation of $4.99. Much appreciated. Now, I know it's available through the CLI. That's a different issue. I see, like, someone says, okay, under new network. It's not under firewall rules because that's not where you create the routes inside of the UniFi. Yeah, we can look through. I know it works through CLI. I'll give you that. But my understanding from another forum post I read, it works through CLI. It doesn't survive reprovisioning it, rebooting it, or firmware updates. So it doesn't work. I mean, it's kind of like, hey, watch, I can show you that it works temporarily. That's not helpful. So I'm unclear, but someone said, let's see, layer 3 stuff created a new network. So, create new network, create advanced network. So we're all looking at the same thing here. This is the advanced options, and I don't see anything in here about If it's a VLAN, you should be able to have guest, corporate, ranges. Yeah. I still don't see anything in here that says exactly how to apply a static route to a particular firewall. You'd think it'd be in the or in the switch. I mean, you'd think it'd be in the switch settings, but I don't see it. So if someone has and it seems like UniFi themselves would have documentation on how their stuff works. So fishing through a feature, I mean, these are valid complaints that someone may have about some equipment. I will also note that it's not a feature that everybody needs. And it's one of the things that you could then say, well, I don't like UniFi because they don't have this feature. And I'm like, well, okay, are you a home user? I see 2 people complaining about that feature. Very large corporate, huge enterprise people that probably wouldn't buy it anyways, complaining it doesn't have certain support. And the home user trying to stack 10 switches up to prove a point that they can, and then complaining it doesn't have some advanced feature. It's definitely something you need under circumstances, but that's why you take and apply and use the systems that are for the circumstances you need. And by the way, the switches that do, I mean, I've had someone say, well, they're not as good as Juniper. I'm like, a Juniper switch is a completely different, much different system. Juniper switches, matter of fact, Here's a nice, I mean, this is not bad for a base switch, but when you get into some of their higher end systems, they're going to be a lot more expensive. And I'm not picking on them or anything like that. They have their prices on there? I mean, a lot of the switches that have all those extra capabilities, like these ones here, they're going to just be a lot more expensive. That's just the way it works, especially as you go up in some of these features and speed. And before someone starts screaming MikroTik at me they support layer 3 at a lower price, their routing is pitiful. Serve the Home did such a good job on that of, yes, it checks the box that it supports in some of their inexpensive switches that it can do routing. But it does it at such a pitifully bad speed, it's almost pointless. So, I mean, yeah, cool, it can do it, but it's not effective at doing it. So, yeah, that. 513.29 apparently for layer 3 routing. That's interesting. I didn't even look what version I'm at right now. What version do I have? I'm still at 512. I'm assuming 513 is beta. I'm not going to run. This is our production system, so I'm not running beta on it. FYI. That would be bad. Yes, William, and I have a video on this as well, but the reason you want layer 3 routing and the advantage of layer 3 routing is because, let's say, an example would be this switch right here. Let's say I wanted 2 VLANs to have a level of communication between each other based on some static route between them. Rather than the 2 devices that are using 2 separate ports, but on one physical switch, going back out all the way through my network up to the router, getting the rule sets and bringing it all the way back over here to route the traffic. Now you're traversing the whole network. The layer 3 routing kind of says, hey, this port wants to talk to this port. They're on separate networks, but I have a rule that says those 2 things can talk to each other. So that's the advantage of having the layer 3 routing at the switch. It cuts down on some of the network traffic, but it's a cool feature that has a use case. Not everyone's use case is that. Generally speaking, if you have a file server, you want it to be on the same network as where the transfers are going, because you don't want files to be routed. So, you have to think about the design of your network and whether or not that's really something you want, whether or not it's something you need. And the more routing that you put into a network, those become essentially, points of constriction that may slow down speed or cause you issues. So there's a lot to it. It comes into, and usually when you're going to very large corporate design, something you have to think a lot more about. The 5.3s posted yesterday, but it's, let's look. I mean, they post their release notes for their beta firmware. It's just not it's whether or not it becomes production download. That's when I choose to get it. And as of right now, 51272, which is what I'm on, is the production. It's not that you can't download. You just sign up for the beta downloads. You can get it. So it's available. But right now, in terms of what's actually live, is as of right this moment, is the 512.72 is the latest. So what else? Is there anything else interesting in here? Not really. Huh. Dream Machine is up to... where's the Dream Machine Pro? Firmware. Yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to wander on that. That's all public information. It's ui.com/download/UniFi. So, let's see. Yes, the TrueNAS. Yeah, Corey's got a good point too. So the whole push for layer 3 switches was due to the routing at the switch fabric and also the need to reduce the number of boxes required. It comes down to design and things like that. So the other side of it too, Cisco routers were really expensive back in the day. They're still reasonably pricey now, but when some of that stuff was expensive, you wanted even less to go through and have to put another switch in place or another router in place. So you kind of wanted to be able to do some of it in the switch layers. Does the MikroTik layer 3 performance just come down to switch CPU performance, or is there more at play? Partially, yes. So obviously the hardware that it's built with is going to drive the price. One of the things about the higher end switch components, they're different physical hardware. I can't really speak to whether or not there could be better optimizations in the code for MikroTik that would have made them perform better, but generally speaking, as a rule, one of the things you're going to have is the fact that if they are using cheaper chips, there's only so much power to route that those chips will have on them. And the way they get the price lower is by using less expensive components to build it. And for most people, that's fine. That works perfectly fine for what they're trying to do. With overlapping subnets, don't have overlapping subnets. You can't route with the subnets overlapping. So that's not a video problem, that's a network engineering challenge. If the subnets are overlapping, you're going to have, how do you route between them? You know what I mean? That becomes, I'm not saying there's not some really hacky way you can do it, but generally, and this is what people find out, we've had people that call us for consulting, and this is not unheard of. It's a network planning failure that happens quite a bit, or when companies hired the same IT person who's less experienced to go, hey, set up our 5 offices. And they go, okay. And they give all 5 offices the same network range. And then later they go, let's VPN all these offices together. And they go, we got a problem. They won't route. Yeah, I mean, bridging is an option on it, but it's not, it's not the best solution, because what you don't want, and one of the reasons you want different subnets is to keep the broadcast traffic from going across and any other noisy traffic for local discovery. So yeah, like Garrett Westwood said, doesn't scale. There is a couple protocols that extend, across networks. So I can't remember the name of the protocol. It's actually, it's a ratified standard. It eludes me at the moment, but it's a way, it works similar to a VPN, but it can extend a port over and carry all the broadcast switching traffic. I can't remember the standard off the top of my head. It's not natively built into Pfsense. It works similar to a VPN. It's kind of like how I think maybe it's like how you use GRE, but you could take an entire port and bring it over to another network and encapsulate the entirety of the traffic at a different level. It's eluding me right now the name of the protocol that does it, but it's a challenge when it comes to scalability, because if your VPN is filled with a bunch of random noisy broadcast traffic, you now slowed down your VPN because you went from gigabit or faster line speed down to whatever the speed of the VPN is, back over to gigabit. So things traversing that are noisy and therefore sucking up a lot of the VPN and bandwidth constraints. So VPLS, that sounds like it. It might be. It's a one-off service that I've seen someone using in an unusual way. They had actually bridged together for their management network, because there was very few devices on it. It was a WISP service that used it, and every tower had a port attached to a switch, and each switch had that service. They were using, I think, MikroTik, and had all this weird configuration. So instead of like logging into all of them, they acted as one big giant bridged network together. They were also calling us because they were having lots of problems with this. And I'm like, yeah, you've got low, I don't know. It was a weird setup, and yeah. It's not like MPLS. That's different again. Like I said, it's something on the tip of my tongue that I can't remember the name of it. I found it interesting that they had set it up that way, but then, of course, they were having scaling challenges as they grew as a WISP. This is one of those, hey, this was a good idea. We have 6 towers. 50 towers later, they're going, okay, we got a problem. This doesn't work. EVPN? Maybe? Pseudo wire? No, not L2TP. It's something that the MikroTik supported, which I thought was interesting. I'm going to look it up now and see if I can find it. Or is it, hold on. I'm getting, diving into it here. I think this is it right here. This is MBOPLS one. Or was it EVPN? Then there's also VLAN X. That's another one too. I don't know. I don't feel like spending that much more time on it. VXLAN's different, but yeah. VPLS may be what it is. Anyways, it's not something I use much, so. Anyways, what else do we have here? Yeah, VXLAN is more of a data center thing. By the way, XCPNG, I covered that, and I need to do some updated videos on it because I got some new features rolling out. XCPNG has that ability to do VXLANs, and for building out a lab, that's an important thing on there. I'm debating, because I don't know how YouTube feels about this. I did my getting started with XCPNG, how to build your open source lab, but I might do a specific one and what I might do is do a specific video on like how to build your malware lab. I think that's another one. And the advantage of using some of the encapsulated networks is because you can section them off for your network for doing malware testing to try to keep things from escaping it. And so I may do a video on that. And I brought that up because a lot of people are bringing up like the different ways you want to do it. VXLAN encrypted VLANs, yeah. Yeah, a lot of WISPs do use the MikroTik and implement that. One of the things about the WISP market is it's not a high margin market. And a lot of times the handful of people I've met working in a WISP, they frequently live in rural areas. That's why they're providing a WISP to those same rural areas. They have a lot more time on their hands. They do not have a lot of money on their hands to start the WISP, to operate the WISP market. It's not something that you make a ton of money at easily because you're dealing with low client density. So they're always looking at ways to save money. And anytime you have a lot of time and not a lot of money, you can spend more time learning, especially if you have a lot of free time. And take the time to learn. I'm not downing MikroTik, but I will say they have a higher learning curve. But once you overcome that learning curve, now you can take and implement a lower cost solution. And once you figured it out once for your first WISP setup in tower, copy, paste, and just keep doing the same thing until you have more WISP towers. So I don't understand. You keep asking the same question, and I'm going to block it at some point, where you keep saying, is there a video connecting Pfsense with MikroTik? No. I mean, they're just VLANs if that's the question you're asking. You're not asking a question. They're both networking devices you can plug into each other. So I don't know how else to answer that, Mr. or Mrs. Lamb Syllable. Lamsy. I don't know. You keep asking the same question. So use the power of the Google to search my channel to hopefully find what you're looking for, but you're not clear. Any alternative to OpenVPN access key server? Need VPN management? I mean, I don't understand that as a question. What's the problem you're trying to solve, and what's wrong with the OpenVPN server? I mean, OpenVPN's a pretty solid, scalable solution, so I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, or hire Tom. There you go. Does the chamber membership work well? That's a fun business pivot. That depends on the chamber. Some chambers are kind of bad, even around here, and some are good. So maybe try it. I can't speak to your chamber. Our chamber was getting not good for a little while. We had a leadership change that made it really good. So my answer today, and I've been a member for 15 years of our Chamber of Commerce, my answer today is they're really good. My answer 5 years ago was they're mediocre at best. So, but when I joined 15 years ago, they were really good. It's the ups and downs of the management. Do we do on-premise work in the Toledo area? If the job is big enough, we will do on-premise in Toledo. Us driving down for a one-off job, I mean, if we're going to be there for a while doing it, we did some larger infrastructure projects in Toledo not that long ago, but it has to be a project, you know, because there's a drive time of from here to Toledo, it's roughly 45 minutes to an hour, depending on where you are in Toledo and traffic. So it's not way outside of our range, but it has to be worthwhile for you to pay the drive time fees. So, OpenVPN access server. Oh, I thought you meant accessing a server via OpenVPN. I read that wrong. I'm sorry, Anthony. No, I don't have any alternative solutions for that. I have no idea what a chamber membership means. In here, in many places, there's a Chamber of Commerce, and they are business organizations here, specifically in the U.S. that I'm referring to, but they do exist elsewhere apparently. They often will be advocates of small business and assist small businesses in sometimes events and networking events, not like networking like we were just talking about with computers, but bringing people together to talk about business and voicing concerns that businesses may have about policies. One of the things that our Chamber of Commerce has been really good about is during this crazy pandemic thing is the Chamber of Commerce has done a good job of keeping us in the loop, so to speak, and being advocates for small business, giving us a voice, listening to us complain about the ways things have been handled here, and then trying to work with federal and state agencies to make them better, which are the two agencies that dictate the disaster recovery plans, essentially, that they're trying to do for business that have not gone well here in the U.S. We usually have a separate fee for drive time. We discounted it a little bit. It's not the same as our regular rates. So, yeah, they haven't gone well anywhere. If we've learned anything, is that human beings are not really meant to deal with this. We don't deal with it often enough to get good at it, which I guess is a good thing, you know. But we still could do better. Hopefully, documents have been drawn up and lessons learned from disasters that were created, so we don't run through this again if some type of epidemic comes up. So, profit margin. I don't know. That's a more complicated topic I'll address in a different video. $3.50. I like that. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that pop up in quite a while. $3.50. Oh, is it still nice out, or is it raining out? Or I do want to go outside at some point in time today. I'll go a little bit longer. I'm just checking on the weather. So right now it's just really hot out. Cool. My wife is sending me houses. Let's see. I've done a few price things on pricing the structured cabling. And margins are tough. I mean, make sure your company's making money. So... So William, you're moving too? Yeah, there's a few people moving right now. I seen Chris announce in his video that he's moving, so that was interesting. I didn't even know that. I watched his video and found out, so I was chatting with him today about that. So fun times, fun times. Second house. So my house will be for sale. I'll share my house for sale once it's for sale here. Have I done a video? Here's the thing, especially with the MSP space, it's something I might do. I don't know. Most MSPs are not like me. I probably meet more of them that won't even tell you what software they're using with any detail. So it's hard, and I also know I do things differently than a lot of other ones, so... Yeah, my move though. I am staying in the same area here. We're looking in the exactly the same. Well, kind of. We talked about moving within less than 10 miles away from where I live now. So, like I said, roughly. Well, that's not roughly. I guess that's pretty much the same area, right? I don't know. I mean, if you want to talk, Schmarvin, message me or something on that about the whole, comparison to how people do things. I mean, it might be an interesting thing. Yeah, there's such a variety of MSPs. Like I said, some are more open, some are far from open about how they do things. You know, it's funny because I'm actually going to share something with you that just literally just came in. This is an email from the Southern Wayne County Regional Chamber of Commerce. And it's the PPP Flexibility Act to Reform Loan Forgiveness. And this is one of the things they did. So they put together what are the next level of changes coming with this. So Congress passes PPP forgiveness reform to include 24 weeks of forgivable operational capital to reduce the loan amount must be applied towards payroll. Boy, it's a complicated topic, but right here, June 4th, and this was just emailed to us. One of the emails I looked over and came up was that particular email. So that's something that our Chamber of Commerce has been very on top of, is letting us know the latest changes. Now, for me, in terms of all the PPP loans and everything they did, it doesn't really affect us as much because we didn't close. It's all reforms related to businesses that were closed during this time, and some are still closed for another week. So the Chamber of Commerce keeping all those businesses in the loop and letting them know everything else, well, that's pretty important. So post in my forums and we can start a discussion there about process differences. And I don't know. I mean, here's the thing about creating that type of content. This is one, it's a good discussion over in my forums. Two, how do we create an engaging amount of content around that? That's an important aspect to the videos is it what I start with is a forum post. Is there enough differences? Is there something there to make it engaging content? That's a key before I make a video. Does this video, what is the value it brings to people who would want to watch this? What will they learn from it? I start like that with my videos, and that's actually why I may not do a video on a particular topic, is because I need to know whether or not there's going to be value brought to the audience. I'm not here just to hear myself talk, despite what some people think. So if there's not value to be provided, there's not information and some learning that maybe come from it, it's not a video I do. So if we start it as a forum post, well, we can at least figure out, and maybe we find some differences, and those differences and contrasts between things are what creates more engaging content. Either tutorials create engaging content because the contrast is you didn't know it and now you are learning it, or the contrast is, hey, I do business like this guy or like this guy, and learning the difference of how these two different individuals do business can be the interesting differential. Thank you very much, Kent Williamson. It is greatly appreciated. And a cold beer. York, UK. Awesome. My issue with MSPs is they all keep secrets about publicly found things. I think there's probably some truth in that do that. I don't know. I'm always out there dropping data, so I'm not someone who keeps that. Private secrets, personal details, those are different, but publicly found things like tools and knowledge, yeah, just drop that out there. So thank you. A lot of you hit the bash the like button, so I'm happy to see that. Yeah, not all secrets. Some are scared of competition. That's true too. Back on the reviewing topic, I got to review this. I'll probably do it tomorrow. I just didn't get it done today because I wanted to reply to people in emails. So this came up. This is a Lenovo. The competitor, I guess you could say, wow, that screwed up the camera. The camera doesn't know idea how to focus this thing. There we go. Anyways, this is one of those portable monitors, and it's funny because what they did was they sent after I did the review of the one, Lenovo sent one, and the number one comment was it's the same as the Lenovo, and I said that's interesting because this company here, whatever their name is, they sent me one first, and this is AUZAI, and I said prior I don't know how to say their name properly. So they sent me it first. And now that I've had both of these, the first thing you're going to notice, and I'm going to do a review on these individually, they may have the same screen. I don't know. I'm not going to tear them apart because they're essentially glued together. But this one, especially when you take the cover off, is when you really are going to notice this. This one is way thinner. So look how thin that is. And very sturdy to compensate for being very thin. Versus this, get the cover off this one. Look how thick this one is. And it doesn't have that ridge at the back. They're very different products. They work differently. So I figured it's worth doing a comparison review talking about that. So someone might be interested in it. It's also, this one's really light because it's so thin, and I don't know. I think this feels like a better made product. Except for I didn't glue it yet. And that's on my to-do list, is to glue it. I've been using it quite a bit though. I've been using both of these at home. So I could have a triple monitor set up at home. I brought them in to review today and I didn't get a chance to review it, so. Many MSPs do things wrong and they shouldn't share advice. Yeah, that's a whole different issue. Yeah, we're doing a takeover right now, and there's some ugly in there. Oh, I said I'm not being techie at home. Yeah, this is all my tech I have at home. This and my screens. It's when I do a lot of reading at home more than anything else. Is it hide user? Is that how you make people go away? Okay. There we go. No, MSP takeover, as in we took over. We took over from another MSP. We're in the process of taking over and onboarding all their stuff. It's been kind of just a mess. So it's and that's not the first time. And it's funny, they have a website. They claim to do all the things. Their website's articulate. People seem polite. And that's actually the challenge of figuring out. I mean, from a small business owner standpoint, it's a big challenge figuring out someone who's not awful. And to take over IT, because a lot of times they hire the person who presented the best and sold the best. It's only the long term that you decide whether or not that person's actually good at what they do, which is a completely different topic. So yeah, Squarespace, people use nice templates. You can look pretty competent pretty quickly, but doesn't mean you actually know how to deliver. So that's a whole different thing. Well, let's see. What else we got here? I am working on some new FreeNAS videos. The new 12, I've been testing it. It's pretty slick. The Raspberry Pi 8 gigs, I don't know. They're cool. I like Raspberry Pi, so Raspberry Pi 8 gig is just one more thing in the pile of cool. So before we wander off here, what I'm going to do is babble on about personal stuff and share a few things with you. I don't know if anyone likes this or not, but it's usually, I'm letting you know it's the wind down, so I'm going to leave here soon, not too soon. I'll hang out a little bit longer, but I do want to go and get some fresh air, get some sunburn. If you can't tell, I'm a little sunburned. And that's because I was doing this. I was at the car show, and yeah, that. Someone did that to a Corvette. And car shows are back here in Michigan, which is exciting. And someone did that to a Corvette. So, yep. I think I know what they were going for. I don't know what they did. So there's that. But we also had our cruise, and my car cruised me, so still rolling the Tesla. That was kind of fun. Out there watching all the cars go by, sitting and watching traffic was one of my. I guess I could say I'm not being very techie when I do this, but I'm sitting in a Tesla, which is a bunch of tech. So there's that. But yeah, this is what Tom does. There's my car. It's shiny, and there's that thing. There was other things there. That was cool. But those are some of the hobby stuff that I do a lot of when I'm not doing this. And that's actually what I go back to doing is, or even this. Off-roading, I got lost out in the woods. And I bring these things up. It's just conversation starters if people ask what I do when I'm not doing this. So, it's a bat car. I'm not sure what it is. It's, that's her, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, so it's, no. I get, David, that it's something, is it Bokuza? I'm not sure. I'm not a Japanese. I'm going to butcher whatever Japanese word I just tried to say. I do get, I think they were trying to follow the Japanese style. I'm going to say they missed a little in execution. I get what they were trying to do. I don't know that they were doing it. I get it, though. Yeah. Let's see. No, I'm done with two-strokes. I like two-strokes, don't get me wrong, but I'm done with two-strokes. So, yeah. That's a whole different animal talking about them. Do I have any there? Oh, this was on my way home yesterday. This is something we at least see a bit of. Look at that. Yeah, seeing that just go down the street. This is right by my office, too. Hey, look, Toys R Us. Empty. So my car was following it, which it's funny. My car is like, yeah, it's just a car. Nothing exciting, but I was still like fascinated by it. I wanted to race them because, I wanted. So if you don't know, and it's funny because one thing's about Tesla, if you're not familiar with them, they're very fast off the line. So no one ever will race you off the line. They want to do a quarter mile where they know they can beat you. So it's always fun messing with people. Yes, that's a GT. So you can definitely out of a Tesla, and it's always fun having these conversations because they're like, I ain't racing you. They just you roll out a window and they they'll make some joke about it of, I always say, rev it up, man. I can't hear your car loud enough, and things like that. But the Tesla beats them out of the hole for acceleration. That they can kill me in a quarter mile. We just have a massive car culture here in Detroit, and it's something that's one of my hobbies is messing with and visiting and hanging out with people that are all part of the car culture. So definitely a whole lot of fun. Yeah, the torque you get. So. This is kind of an interesting, I like this aspect of it. Let me find a... So, on a normal car, you try to envision, you have a torque curve. And when they tell you how much torque is produced at any particular range when you're in a gasoline engine, the engine has to spin at certain RPMs, produce certain amounts of torque. And then combine that with the fact that to keep in that power band, as they call it, where you have the peak amount of torque and horsepower, you need to have a transmission that can keep the engine as the wheels accelerate, also has to go through and change the ratio at which the engine rotates versus the wheels rotate to come up with the optimal way to get this. This is a very complicated balance, and when you look at the complexities in any type of transmission, you're like, oh wow, that's quite a few parts to make all that happen. So it's really a beautiful piece of engineering when you see any of these vehicles. I'm always in admiration of the level of technology, for example, that's in the new Corvette, to allow all that to occur. Electric motors are so much simpler, and 0 RPMs, they produce a massive amount of torque. And because a Tesla is a direct drive system without any transmission, there's never any shifting. So that's why you lose in a quarter mile, but can gain out of the rip really fast. So it's kind of a fun thing to think about and dive into from, like I said, the technology standpoint and stuff like that. It's one of the things. Do I miss the sound of the car? Oh, yes, I really much do. Grayson, thank you very much for the donation. I will address that real quick. For security questions, when recovering your account, do you generate answers as passwords? I have a methodology for them, but generally I make notes within like my password manager of what I may have answered for that. But I'm seeing less sites even have security questions, so it hasn't really been an issue as much. So I try not to make them anything obvious that could easily be found out about me, especially as I'm a more public person, because you can find, if you spend enough time on YouTube, you'll find lots of personal details. So my answers are not normal. That's the best way I can answer that. Not to keep anything obscure. It's not the goal. It's just the fact that if it asks me for a common question, I have answers I give that are uncommon. So hopefully that helps. They're not my actual real details, date of birth, blah, 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 unless that's required. And some places require knowing that. Let's see. Yeah, the Porsche Taycan has that 2-speed, and that's to get that top end on Porsche. That's why they went with a 2-speed system. That's a real thing. Oh, I see, Grace. Now you're talking about the that. Yeah, that's another. You can do it that way. I usually come up with a different type of answer because I have to save all those somewhere. So they don't necessarily need to be gibberish, but they're certainly not guessable either. They're not necessarily answers that fit. Like, what's your favorite food? Porsche Taycan? You know, that type of answer you may give. So you have an answer that is easy to type because sometimes you have to type it or some string of words, but they're not necessarily a guessable answer because they don't fit the question. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, lots of discussion about password managers. Oh, let's see. Will I review Pfsense? No. No interest. What camera am I using? Look for my studio setup. There's really not anything changed. I did a review of my studio, so if you type in Studio Tour 2019 or Studio 2019 on my YouTube channel, I have everything broke down in detail. Every part, every component with wide-angle lenses to show you everything that's around me. What else do we have here? A few more of you should be smashing the like button because I'm winding it down here. I can only talk so much before my voice will get hoarse, and I need to let it recover. Matter of fact, that's an interesting thing. That's part of the reason I like the lemon water. I really don't talk much except for when I do these, but because I don't talk much, I don't think my voice is exercised enough, so I end up being hoarse later. So this is a Canon camera. Like I said, all the details for all of my studio stuff are in that video. What I'll do, because if you ask one question, you probably want all the other ones, so there you go. That link will give you the entire parts list to my studio and all the different things. I've never, I guess if you're learning a firewall, you need the search function, but once you know it, you don't. I don't know, I guess that's cool. Why did I get a Tesla? I really like the Tesla. I tried researching a few of the other electric cars, and I was really wanted a Nissan Leaf, thinking it was cheaper than a Tesla. And it really came out to be not much cheaper for a lot less car. The features that the Nissan, which was the closest competitor, offered were terrible by comparison. And so I looked at the Chevy going, hey, you know, support local company, blah, blah, blah. And they were even more disappointing for the price. You didn't get the features in the Chevy that you got in a Tesla, and the price was actually about the same as a Tesla. So then I just went right for the Tesla, and no regrets. They are a car company that thinks not like a car company. And I watched a lot of reviews, and I always assumed that the people were just being fanboys and that they were being overhyped. But after driving it, and as someone who's owned quite a few cars and driven many other cars, I will say it's very next level as in terms of vehicle. I mean, runners up are going to be, don't get me wrong, other European luxury sedans are pretty amazing vehicles as well. They're no slouch when it comes to that, but their electric offering, and I wanted something electric, their electric offering just wasn't really there. So that's what made me kind of go with the Tesla. Yeah, smash the like button and smash them ribs. Ribs. Smoked ribs. That always sounds really good. What else do we have here? Before, I'll end it here in 10 minutes. That means I have actually gone for 2 hours. So I started at 4:20, I'll end it at 6:20. So in the next 10 minutes, what are the questions you have to throw at me? After that, I've just talked too long. And not that I have anything else to say today. I don't really plan to talk anymore today after this is over. I need to put that in the fridge, I think. What's my favorite burger toppings? I don't know. Barbecue sauce, onions, everything, mayo. I hardly ever eat a burger. Hey, fun fact about Tom, I don't eat meat very often. I'm not a vegetarian, but I just don't eat a lot of meat. What's the most odd question I've ever asked? I don't know. I will tell you probably one of my strangest was drinking moonshine with a client while his internet was down. He had me at his house. We did moonshine because he absolutely insisted, which I finally said, whatever, I'm the owner, I can do that. It was late in the day. And did a shot of moonshine and read stock numbers to him because his internet was down and he cared a lot about the value of a stock on the trading market. So I waited there for Comcast, read stock numbers, and did shots of moonshine with the guy. It was a weird event. He was an unusual individual. Very, very unusual. Very wealthy, though. Yes, it's okay, we make lamb. Oh, let's see. Do you have a continuance plan for your company in case you suddenly are unavailable to run it? Yes. Business continuity, even a dead man's trigger for my emails flopping over to someone. Google has all kinds of after-death plans. Or an after-death system you can set up. So yes. Matter of fact, a lot of my focus and purpose for running the business, I have no, on a sorry note, guys, I have no methodology by which to produce YouTube videos if I become incapacitated and I'm able to run the company, or if I meet a untimely death. The YouTube channel will be stopped because no one else is going to do that instead of me. But the business has continuity to it. So, let's see. How often I broadcast? Spencer, welcome to the first one. If you've seen here, I try to do it every Thursday around 4. It's challenging, but I may try to set it at exactly 4. Just trying to block out time for it can get a little bit of, because I try to favor my time towards all the customer projects, and sometimes the customer's like, hey, can you meet with me right this time? And I'm like, That's fine. And that's how the vlogs end up at random times, or occasionally the only day that worked for a client, you know, one of the times I had to go to like a data center, the only time it worked for the client was spending an afternoon with them, and I had to drive all the way out there. So I ended up doing the vlog at night. So there has been occasions where it just gets off skewed, but I'm trying to keep it right around 4 o'clock on every Thursday, and that's Eastern Standard Time. Follow me on Twitter, where I always make sure I post exactly what time it'll happen. So what else do we have here? 115 likes. Awesome. Much appreciated. Love seeing all that. What else do we want to talk about? You know, I don't mind. I'm not here to intertwine my personal life per se, but I don't mind if people have questions generally about what I do when I'm not doing this and things like that. Of course, obviously, I mostly spend my time doing tech things, so that is the most of it. I do play games occasionally, not very often. So that's about it. I wonder what anyone want to see the house my wife suggested that I should live in? I guess I should. Well, should I show it? You could figure it out anyways. Did they add some pictures? Oh, they had some photos. Interesting. Weird. Huh. All right, well. Here's the thing. If I show the houses... Oh, you know what I can show you? I can show you this. This is not a house I plan to buy. But you guys will get a kick out of it, so... Anyways, this house is for sale right by me. This is over on the island. How do I make them all big? There we go. So one of we live by a river, the Detroit River, and my office is really, really close to the Detroit River. Anyways, this house is just wild, and this is about 5 or 6 miles from my office. This is way out of my price range, but I thought you guys may get a kick out of it. This house is so strange inside because it's all like 1980s. It's themed so unusual. I just can't help but stare at it because it's so interesting. It's like $790,000 or $800,000, somewhere around there. Such a wild looking house, though. Look at that bathroom. And the pink accents and things like that. I don't know. It's just such a strange house when you look at it. So that one's pretty cool. And if you're wondering, I'll pull this up too when I talk about the island. So my office is right here is where my office is right on this little spot here. That house that you just looked at is right here on this island. So right about in this spot here. I have looked at living on this island. It's kind of interesting. The houses are being discounted a little bit on the island because there's 2 bridges, and one of the bridges is closed for a while. So that's going to be interesting. There and the other client owns our client owns the other bridge. So yeah. Well, I helped Chris from Crosstalk move furniture. He is on the other side of the country from me, so no. It looks better on the outside. Yes. Yeah, it needs another $500,000 to refurbish. That's no house. Miami Vice theme. We'll go with that. Yes. It feels like 1980s Miami Vice. Yeah. Now, an interesting facet is, and right now, this is one of the things, like living around here. Let me pull up like another place. It's actually, I pull up like, let me go back. Come on. Let me find, it's actually pretty affordable to live in a lot of the houses here. Let me go over to here. Detroit is reasonably, it's not as high end of a market. If you drop in something like California, housing prices in the US are dramatically different from area to area. And like this area that I'm in is much, much less expensive than, let's say, we'll go over here to Berkeley. And when you go out here, you even look at a small house and the price jumps up. But this kind of varies so much by area. Like right here, yeah, it's more modern. You can see the prices are all over the place. It's kind of interesting living in Michigan because we have such divided lines where you see houses that are far one way or far the other way. You'll see houses that you can buy, right? You can buy a house 6 miles northwest of here and pay $100,000. You can pay $300,000 a little bit south, and by the time you get to the island, they're up in the $700,000-800,000 range. And all of this is in a span of what, 12 or 13 mile radius. It's wildly different, even though it's all essentially a suburban area. It's not like you're in the city. This is all just sprawling suburbs here. So I don't know. That's a whole different topic. Yeah, some of the areas in Florida, one of my friends just moved to Florida because his job is remote, and he's like, wow, he moved out of the DC area. He was able to cash out on his house and buy a bigger, nicer home with an indoor pool in Florida, and he moved out of an average, smaller home. So yeah, very big difference. So yeah, it's going to be, there's so much variation. Nothing for sale under 6. Yeah. Now, Brett moved here from Seattle, and coming from Seattle to Michigan, he was able to go, he moved out of a little, I don't know, 1,500 square foot house into a 4,000 square foot house and could just pay cash for it because Seattle is so much more expensive than Michigan. So yeah, there's different, how much you earn, of course, is going to be a driving factor. And yeah, when you cross country lines, USA versus UK, whew, a whole different animal because there's so many different things involved in how that works. So anyways, I went all the way to 6:22. Hopefully I was interesting and engaging for 2 hours. Thank you for everyone who donated. Thank you for everyone who did that. Thank you for all the people that bashed the like button, all 125 of you so far, and more of you. Hopefully we'll do it in the coming times when this gets viewed offline. So I don't know. Is there any other final questions before I wander off? I always have trouble signing off, so I like answering everyone's questions and things like that. And I find it fascinating when discussions like this, I see in the chat right now, people talking about, the whole, how much you make in different countries. I know that is a very interesting because it's not just what you make, it's how the taxes are done, what they take out of your checks and things like that. So initially you may go, oh, you made more here, but then you find out you don't because so much of it goes out to taxes and things like that. So oh no, smooth peanut butter, man. Sorry, you're going to be upset there, Lewis, but yeah, smooth peanut butter. Oh, do I have other methods besides Patreon? Yes, actually. So if you go over to lawrencesystems.com. So for those of you that want to donate, and I'm going to be working on a way to do this because I do appreciate people who just want to support the channel. And you go to affiliates we love. One of the things we threw in here was this. You can just throw money, and that's what we called it. Like, we've had some people just say, I want to say thank you. If you go to paypal.me and you click the throw money, which is on our website there under affiliates, you can throw any amount you want at us, just randomly. You pick. It can be a penny, it can be $1, it can be some other value that makes you happy. So that is an option right there, is the PayPal button. That is under our partners and affiliates. I'm going to redo, and if you've noticed on our channel that things have been changing. So if we go over here, we're redoing graphics just because we're going to get ready to have all the different join buttons and stuff. So we're redoing the graphics. We redid the graphics on some of the Patreon stuff as well. So we're fixing these one by one, and we'll be updating with some more news as I take the time to really do that. So yeah, Tom Coin. You have to pay taxes on any income here in the United States. I have to pay taxes on Patreon. I have to pay taxes on PayPal. Death and taxes are two certainties here in the United States. The only way to avoid taxes is to not report income that comes in via anonymous envelopes filled with cash that you slip under the door here. Awesome if you do that, but that's not likely. So 4 to 5 weeks of vacation here. Now, this is a fascinating discussion to me. What I do find interesting, and is a very valid discussion, is things like vacation time. And the reason I bring that up is because that is absolutely not a standard here in the U.S. How much vacation time you get is dictated by your employer. Now, I offer such things, and we're ratifying a new employee manual for this, but I offer such things. But in the U.S., your vacation time is determined by your employer, not through a state mandate or a federal mandate. So, yeah. So there's varies by company. So a big span for sure. Oh, and the roads are terrible here. Yes. Unmarked bills, always. Yeah, Patreon charges more to donate because there's a series of taxes that got to be taken out. And it's funny because they're taxing you and then they're taxing it again. They have a transactional fee and taxing fees, but yeah. Yes. Our health insurance is disastrously tied to the employer, which is creates a lot of our other issues, secondary issues that we have here in the U.S. Yeah, road quality varies wildly, that's for sure. Yeah, so in Michigan, the roads are bad and not well maintained at all. But if you go to Ohio, which is 30 miles south of here roughly, the roads are actually quite good. So it does vary greatly. Yeah, everywhere you go, it's going to be strange. That is a really interesting, like I said, interesting topic. I would actually, maybe sometime I'll do a live show and we'll just have a discussion breaking all that stuff down. That might be interesting. Now, something I did consider doing as well, because it becomes just an open air discussion, is like for patrons or people who join on the YouTube channel, is offering like a more interactive session where I talk just more open in general and do it on a like Google Hangout style where other people can interact. I don't know if that's something people are interested in or not. I did think about offering that. Ah, yes. Star Trek stuff, Spock. I ran out of quarters and had to abandon them until I could get more quarters. That Spock has now been lost. That's actually an old photo. It came up sometime in my memory, so. Do it in Jitsi? I might. I've done Jitsi. I do have a Discord that I'm not very good at it. So I don't use Discord very often. Like, I go in there randomly. I have a couple other people that admin it for me because I don't. I have a Discord channel. That does exist. It's there should be a link to it below. If not, post in the forums. You can find it. I kind of gave up on IRC. I like IRC, but I like Discord better than IRC. I don't know. IRC's okay. Yeah, but I do have the Discord channel. I believe it's in the links below. You can find Lawrence somewhere. We have a link to our Discord channel. Matter of fact, it's probably on our website if I had to guess. I'm spitballing here. It seems like it would be here somewhere. Forums. What is that one? Keith G. Oh, maybe it's not here. I'll figure it out. I'm sure it's findable. How's that? Okay. All right. Well, now it's 6:30, so I'm going to have to leave. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. It was awesome talking to you guys for 2 hours. I will be doing tomorrow around 4 o'clock is when we plan to do How They Got Hacked, so looking forward to there. Please spend some time for the forums. Hey, it looks like someone found my Discord. I'm guessing that's what that is. But much appreciated. Thank you for joining. I'm out of here, and I'm going to be out of breath, and I'm thirsty, and I got to get more water and go be outside and enjoy the weather a little bit. Thanks.